Well, hello there, and this is Auntie, and I am coming to you all with a review of Married at First Sight. I think it's season 6, episode 11, or even season 8. I think it's season 6. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. If this is your first time being here, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and to all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining the family. And to all of my nieces and nephews who have been with me for the long haul, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead on and get right into this review of Married at First Sight. So, we open up this episode just kind of reviewing the couples from last week. And um, last week was eventful. I guess it's kind of set the stage for what we saw yesterday. As you all know, when I do these reviews, I usually like to try to do it based on a particular couple, and so I will not be any different from that. The first couple I want to talk about is John and Molly. John and Molly don't seem to have made that much progress in the area of consummating their marriage. They still haven't consummated their marriage, and that is just a little bit disheartening that she still hasn't given it up. I sat there and I wondered, what is it about him that could be so gross that she just does not want to have sex with this man? Like, I cannot understand it. It's unexplainable. I just don't know what the problem is. I mean, to me, he seems attractive. He seems like he has all of his teeth, all of his capacities. He doesn't appear to be um, just an unattractive type guy. I mean, I just cannot imagine what it is that you wouldn't just be curious enough to have sex with him. But I sometimes I think that she is using this to her advantage. You know how sometimes women, when they feel like they have the power of the panani, and they use that. That's how I kind of feel. I feel like she's using that power only because she can. And I don't know whether or not we're going to see a flashback of one of the couples in the previous one where the young lady was acting the same way with this gentleman, and then in the end, last couple of weeks, she found herself head over heels in love with him, and by that time it was too late. I don't know if we're seeing a repeat of that, but I just can't imagine what it is about him that is just so unattractive that she will not have sex with him. Like, I can't get it. But anyway, um, they talk about how compatible they are and how they are so much, alike and all that kind of stuff. And we see her giving him those spider eyes. Like, okay, let's stop. What is going on with her eyelashes? Like, oh, okay, seriously. Like, I don't want to make this, about her looks, but what's going on with her eyelashes? Like, I don't know why they so spiky and they look like just spiders sitting on her eyes. It's so unattractive. I'm hoping that somebody has told her that she's kind of dimmed that down. I mean, maybe if she would take and not have them so exaggerated with a noir or a black or a blackened mascara, maybe she did like a brown or something, but it's just so absolutely unattractive to me. But anyway, I digress. So we see her, having lunch with him or dinner, taking him out for his birthday. And, she gives him a gift card to a clothing store for his birthday. And he's elated about it because he's like, she listened to me. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. He says that he doesn't really have women who listen to him and that sort of thing. So I was like, okay. Um, I don't have anything to say about really about the two of them outside of the general conversations that they had, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. The next couple that I wanted to talk about was Jepthe and Shawniece. As we remember last week, Jepthe ended up walking out of the household because he was angry um, about having to share his cell phone with Shawniece for an hour. Again, he says that he's one of those guys that doesn't like to get pushed into doing things. He wants to do it on his own. And so we see, the aftermath of him walking out of the door, and he gets into the car and he calls one of his friends. And he tells his friends, I just can't do this. Like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And his friend was like, what happened? And so he goes into telling his friend basically what happened between he and Shawniece. And then his friend starts giving him advice and telling him, walking out the door, makes her feel like she's alone and not wanted, and like you really are not invested in this. And Jepthe listens to him. One thing that I like about Jepthe is that he sought counsel. We have seen him in so many lights this season. We saw him, for weeks not even like touch her, not want to lay with her, and then all of a sudden they broke that and they consummated the marriage. And we've seen the ups and the downs of Jepthe and Shawniece. Um, he sat there and he listened to his friend, and he made a decision to change his mind. I don't know whether or not when he came back into the house, that he slept on the sofa, or what he did in the previous episode, when they were showing like the little clips. We saw the van, his truck pulling away. And you know what? That was editing at its best, because he didn't pull away. He just got in the truck and he made a phone call. And so we're starting to see, another side of him. One of the things that, again, that I have to say is I just don't understand for the life of me why Shawniece will not fix herself up in front of her husband. I understand about the natural girl. I really, really do. But her not fixing herself up is like really getting on my nerve. Like, I don't know why it's getting on my nerve so bad, but like it really is getting on my nerve. Y'all excuse the glow of my hair. Um, but her not doing that is just like really starting to make my complete butt itch. I just don't. Fix yourself up, beautify yourself. We see her in different situations and circumstances, and she fixes herself up, and then she gets up and she's just like looking rough and rugged. And I know that your husband has to be able to get past that and stuff like that. But god dang, like, do something to care of yourself, you know. Anyway, I digress off of that. And so the next, she gets up in the morning and she says, "My husband left me 2 roses as an apology." And we see them sit down on the sofa and they kind of talk about the relationship and, what they could have done differently. And Shawniece made a statement saying that, if you didn't want to give me the phone, you don't want to give me the phone, it's not a big deal. And I disagree with that, because you did make it a big deal. When you were laying in the bed, you made it a big deal. You rolled over, you turned your back to him, which is a sign of rejection to him. And but then you sit there on the sofa and you say, well, I wouldn't do this. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. You're my husband. Woo, woo, woo. Let me see if I close this up, because I don't like that glare. Okay. I got rid of some of it. But she sits there, she says how, she wouldn't do this if this wasn't her husband, with the whoop whoop and the boop boop boop, and she can kind of blow stuff off and be nonchalant about things. But I disagree with her totally, because she did not show signs of that when she was in the bedroom with him. And so, basically, Jepthe is just, bottom line, one of those guys who is extremely determined that he's going to do exactly what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, and how. It was good to see them make up, and he said that he could see in her face that she was really broken, and so I like the fact that he now is showing compassion towards Shawniece, when you regularly, in the earlier part of the season, we didn't see that. And then we go to our boy Ryan. Um, and this is where the story really starts to unfold for all of the couples. So as we know, Ryan is a party boy. He, wants to be a boy's boy. He, has these bromances and stuff like that. He likes to hang out in the street. We saw our girl, Jaclyn, make comments about it, was angry last episode about the fact that, he doesn't want to stay home. So we see the men out and they're talking to Dr. Calvin. Last week was women's night, and this week is the men's night. And so all the men are sitting around the table and they're talking to Dr. Calvin, and he's talking about basically making long term goals for this marriage. And so we see him come through the door. He's one of those characters. He's one of those guys that just has to stand out in the crowd. He's probably really loud and obnoxious in bars. This is just how I'm seeing him. And so they come in and they're all sitting down and they're wanting to hear and be heard by Dr. Calvin. So Dr. Calvin gives them assignment and tells them that, basically he wants them to talk with their wives about their 5 year plan. Where do we see ourselves in 5 years, so that they're not just looking at just this little circle of the experiment, but looking at whether or not they have plans and a goal to be together in the next 5 years, which I thought was a good exercise. And here comes dumbass. He sits there and he talks about um, that Jacqueline has a gypsy soul. That his fear is that she is going to move to another country and abandon him and the kids, and he doesn't play that. See, he's one of those guys who thinks higher of himself than he ought to. Because let me just say this to you, Ryan. You can build all the houses you want, you can do all the paintballing you want, and um, put out all the fires that you can in Boston, but you're not the prize. And for you to sit there and be, act so ignorant as to say that, she's a gypsy soul and she's going to run away from her kids, I thought was just absolutely ludicrous and just totally embarrassing. You should really be embarrassed, first of all, because you walked in there with a regular, little Joe Schmo shirt on and some suspenders. So I should have known something was wrong with you anyway. He walks in and he um, basically starts down this path of talking about what this woman may do because she wants to travel. And, Dr. Calvin is like, Jepthe, John, everybody's looking at him like, oh, excuse me. Everybody's looking at him like, is he absolutely serious about this? And the sad part about it is, he wants to be serious about it. He thinks that, being loud and being aggressive and saying what he's not going to tolerate makes him right, or makes him more of a man's man. He's sitting there at the table when the guy, he says, I'm not submissive in my relationship, not even as it comes and it relates to sex. And Jeffrey was like, man, don't nobody want to know about your sex life. And he's like, well, I'm not submissive. And Dr. Calvin asked him, how's that working out? And he pauses. And he has all these conditions around being with him. And first of all, you're not even attractive. Like, seriously, you're not attractive at all. Um, you got, matched up for more of your maybe your brains, but more of your ability to afford a wife. I don't believe that you are really husband material. Dr. Calvin says that he believes that he is so-sabotaging, that he is so afraid of falling in love with Jacqueline, that he is willing to sabotage the relationship. And I don't know about that. I just think he's an asshole. Pure and simple. I kept sitting there thinking, is he gay? Does he like men and women? Could he be dealing with his sexuality? Is he bisexual? Like, what's wrong with him that he feels he has to go out every night and be with his boys? Jepthe and John are looking at him at the table the same way I was, with like the straight upside eye. Okay? And you could even see that Dr. Calvin was quite irritated with him. He wants to be right, loud, and heard. And I think that Jaclyn is just somebody of convenience to him. I don't think that he loves her or cares about her at all. I think that she is someone that he can have sex with. And then he can, be a boy again. He can go back out and hang with the boys. And it's sad because he talks a good game. And that's why you gotta really be careful about those guys that got all the right words to say at the right time. Because really, he don't have anything going for him. Like, he's a trash box. So, they end up getting off of his stuff, and I'm hoping that the other guys heard. I think they did. And, so the next thing we see Jacqueline at home, who's sick and not feeling well. And she's in the kitchen and she's like, Ryan came home. He was in a bad mood. He argued and he left out. And I'm sick. No compassion for his wife. No empathy. Doesn't want to bend. Just stubborn. And I'm thinking to myself, I would have left that night. And I don't mean physically left, but my heart, my mind, and everything else would have left that night. I would not have stayed in that loveless relationship with him. I just wouldn't have did it. And I think that that's where I would have felt, where I would have been. She already, said that she was bothered by him not being at home. And then he turns around and does that. I don't know if he has an alcohol problem, but something is wrong. Like, something's wrong. So, we see the next day, we see him having a conversation with Jaclyn, and they made some type of pasta dish and broccoli and looked like some garlic bread or something, and they go to sit down and have a conversation, and this particular man is sitting there, and he interrupts her sentences. He never lets her complete her thought. He talks over top of her. His eyes are blaring and glaring, and I just ain't feeling him. And he's wanting to make the the conversation an argument. He wants to be right in the conversation. He has the nerve to talk about how I deal with things is not how you deal with it. I was thinking about the 5-year plan, and I felt like you were a gypsy and that you would leave me with the kids and go away. And I'm sitting up there thinking to myself, are you crazy, Ryan? And Jacqueline's sitting there saying, so this is how you deal with it? Instead of you having a conversation with me, this is how you deal with it, Ryan? She already knows and made a comment and said, I know that this is how you're going to deal with it now and in the future. So what do we do when we get to this point again? He says, you know what, this conversation is pointless. We're just arguing. Okay. Okay. But she sticks in there and she tries to talk to him about it. I just wouldn't have. I don't see the relationship lasting. And the sad part about it is that Jacqueline is so hopeful. He sat there weeks ago when they came home and, he saw her crying in the garage and talking about talking about, her deceased fiance and going through the packages that he had no baggage. He he was so quick to say, I don't have any baggage, and you the one with the baggage because you're grieving over your deceased fiance. But Ryan, you got baggage, boo. Like, you got more baggage than Delta Airlines. Like, you don't want to be told. You and Jepthe both don't want to be told what to do. John is the person that I see that's really being um, flexible and compromising. And that may be because, he's unemployed. I don't know if that's the reason why he is, but he is. And he doesn't really have family, and he really wants this marriage to work with Molly Spider Eye stick in the bud. And but Ryan is really completely and totally a butthole. And Jaclyn says, we have these arguments, but we come back together. But how many of us have been in relationships where we break up just to make up? That stuff gets old. And it's not a good foundation to build your house upon. Because if I was building a home that was a home for me and my family to grow in for years, I wouldn't want the foundation cracked. And then you mend the foundation in this little area, because guess what? The whole house is built upon that broken frame or foundation. Ladies, 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 this is a disaster waiting to happen. This is a relationship that we have seen ourselves in before. This is a relationship that if we had the opportunity to sit down with Jaclyn, we would tell her, let me tell you something, boo. He's not going to change. And he wants to be right so bad. And Dr. Calvin said, he's so afraid of being in love. So he will abandon, that fear. The fear of staying the same, or the fear of doing something different. He ain't gonna change. He sat there and said, in front of the television screen, in front of the editor's camera, and sat there and said, she told me I couldn't go out. Even when he sat down with Jepthe and John, he made the comment, she told me no, I couldn't go out. You're not a child. Take care of home. That must be Josephine Familia. Let me see who that is. It sure is. Hi. Hi, Nessa G. Hi, Adrian Cobb. Hi, Tasha Smith. Hi, Jackie Four. Hi, M.I. Hi, everybody. I saw them little flowers and stuff. I was like, oh, look at that. She's so sweet. Plus, he said he stayed out longer. Yes, he did. Hi, Alice Rains. Hi, Boo. Hi, Josie. You in the snow, too? I'm in the snow. I'm supposed to be working, and I am, but I'm on my lunch break, so I thought I would come out here and holler at y'all for a little bit. Yeah, 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 yeah. But, hi, Renee Denigers. Hi, sweetie. Ryan paints his wife as a ruddy. Ryan paints his wife as a ruddy happy. It backfires and makes him look bad. Oh, thank you, Alice. I missed you too, boo. Jackie K says Snow Bunny in the bed. I'm not. I've been working all day. I've been working all day. I'm just deciding to take little lunch break. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Rich Chuck. Hi. Ryan is running his relationship, is ruining his relationship. I highly doubt they are going to last. And the sad part about it is that Jaclyn is no different from any other woman. She is going to attempt to try to make that relationship work out. And I miss you too, baby. Yes, I saw that. Hi, Marshana. Hi. Yes, Auntie. Never trusted Ryan. Mm-mm. He just talks a good game, but I think the thing about it is that a lot of times as women, we want to be flattered and we want that companionship. And we have guys that are in our lives like Ryan who say and do all the right things. And then we don't look past that. I think that if she had other people who were really looking at the relationship, she would see. One thing about Jepthe is that Jepthe doesn't say the right thing. He's not politically correct. He is not afraid to be vulnerable. He's not afraid to show his anger. Where Ryan is this guy who just totally dismisses Jaclyn. For some reason, he has no respect for women because the way that he communicates with her is always in a way where it's degrading and where he, like I'm the man, that Tarzan syndrome, where he just feels like he can say and do anything he wants to say and do. Like he's so gross. He's so gross. And I don't understand it. I don't understand the grossness of him. And and it really makes me feel bad for her because I've seen it before. Haven't we seen it, y'all? So familiar with it. And one thing is, women, we're nurturers and we're birthers. And so, what we want to do is always nurture and birth something. It's just in us. And so, she's trying to nurture this relationship and she sees all of these potentials, like the potential we see in our children and so she sees all this potentials and she's being deceived by the potential that she sees in him. Like this guy's just a creep. But they all go to Shawniece sets it up where they all go and do the trapeze ropes. And I noticed that Molly was the only one that came in there with the Mrs. shirt on. And I was like, she's got that shirt on because she's really, sidebar, insecure about her relationship. All the other women came, dressed in regular clothes, and so did the men. And here she comes in there with this Mrs. shirt on. If you got to wear the label, maybe you're not doing the job. Um, because the honeymoon, as far as being on the beach and letting people know that you 3 days in is over. So why did you feel like you needed to wear that shirt around the girls? They know you married. Like, do the job. And no, sex isn't everything, but sex is everything. Okay. So anyway, um, they get up and they do the trapeze, and I like that fact that Jepthe ended up doing it, with them, and then so the men and the women talk, and they talk about their relationship, and Molly sits there and she says, I don't know where I am or what decision I want to make, but you was just sitting at the table with John, saying that for his birthday that you're all in it and you want this marriage and you see you just fake. Like Molly, you really fake. Like like you're doing all this for the cameras because you don't want to look bad. You got into this experiment because you had pressure on you because all your friends around you were getting married. But how about if you tone down a little bit? See, you and Shawniece are total opposites. You're the type of person that everything goes into your appearance, your hair, your eyelashes, your nails, your packed on makeup, your clothing, and all of that kind of stuff. That's where you see your value at. And so like I'm exhausted. That's where you see your value at. But who are you really in the inside? To thine own self be true, Molly. And then we got Shawniece, who's the total opposite and does not give a freak or a flying freak about how she looks on the outside. and everything that's in her, inside of her wants to please him. So neither one of them know where they are, but Shawniece isn't showing it on the outside. When she's troubled and she's not feeling good and feeling secure about the relationship, she lets herself go. She's one of those kind of women that when they break up with a man, they end up in a corner for 5 days and 5 nights crying and eating cucumbers and water, just to sustain life. Where Molly is the type of girl who will go out and have her hair and all of that stuff all fixed up and, pretend to people on show on the outside that she's got it all together. As women, we always have to seem like we have it all together. You know, it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay not to be okay. You know what I'm saying? There's a balance between who we are and what we are and what our purpose is. We've got to take care of ourselves first. I think that is why Molly is not able to really, you know, go all the way with John, is because she hasn't taken care of herself. You know why? Because she did this experiment not with a genuine heart. She said all the right things and did all the right things. Why didn't hook her up with Ryan? She needed to be with Ryan. And you know what the thing about it too is, opposites do attract. So when her and John are sitting up there and they're saying, we've got so much in common, basically they just friends. He seriously is in the friend zone with her. But anyway, so they all do the trapeze and they sit there and they talk. And Shawniece says that, she's comfortable in thinking that her and Jepthe are going to be together for a while and they're going to be married and stay married. But, Jepthe says, don't rush him. I thought that one of the most tender moments is when Jepthe and Shawniece were coming to the home and they were sitting there and they started talking about their future. And they were talking about how many children they were going to have and how they were going to raise the children. And, Jepthe said that one of his fears was, his greatest fear is to send his daughter off to college. And Shawniece said, well, what happened in college that makes you so fearful? Probably was home with everybody's daughter. That's probably what he was doing. And he don't want nobody to do that to him, because you know what you reap what you sow, and what goes up must come down. Trust me and believe me, it does. But anyway, I thought that was a very tender moment, and I thought that was absolutely what Dr. Calvin had asked him to do. So I'm proud to see that this brother, this school teacher, is really getting it together. And that's not to say that he's a perfect man and that they have a perfect relationship, but it's good to see him getting it together. It's good to see John being so open and patient and loving and long suffering with Molly. I just think that unfortunately he got mixed up with the wrong woman in the right experiment. And I'm hoping that his inbox is being blown up, after, wait, y'all, because the man is married, but after the process is over, I hope they blow his inbox up and that he finds a woman who is right for him. And I wish the same thing for Jaclyn. Jaclyn is all in this, but her husband isn't. And then we see in the previews that, he's talking about her wanting him to get rid of his apartment and stuff like that. Maybe Jaclyn is asking for too much. I don't know. Maybe she is. Thank you so much for the super chat. Who is that? Helena asked Auntie, keep doing what you're doing. We love you and appreciate your advice and comments on our favorite shows. It won't let me send $10. I don't know what it is, 9.99 nonsense. But thank you. I was on somebody else's channel, super chatting, the other day, and it did the same thing with me when you slide the thing across. Um, Hi, Sarah. I forgot to call Sarah again, Lord. Sarah, I was doing this during my lunch break. But I thank you so much, Lena. You're so sweet. Somebody else super chatted me too, and I want to make sure that Alice Rain. She said, I've missed you, Auntie. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, sweetie. I so appreciate y'all. And I miss y'all terribly. I'm going to come out here tonight. Look, let me tell you, last night, happy I had a snow day and call Auntie and all. Yes, me too. Me too. But a snow day, I still have to work. What I do doesn't stop because it's snow. But anyway, I digress. Um, but I miss you all terribly. I'm gonna go ahead on and wrap that up. I saw Ryan, like I said, talking about not giving up his apartment, like he's just a complete and total butthole. And I'm glad that he is not somebody that I am with. Ladies, 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 know who you are before you get into these relationships with these guys, and you've got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. You've got to know when to move on, and you have to know when somebody is just not good for you. Tonight I'm going to be coming out. Yes, Auntie's going to be coming out 2 times in one day, and we're going to be talking about the breakup of Abby and Sean. If you all have been out there looking, the two of them have broke up, and it's a hardtail mess. And I want to come out here and I want to discuss it tonight, so that we can put that behind us. I also understand that there was a young lady who showed up on Keith Brooks, and so your auntie got to talk about that too. Oh, I saw it on YouTube. They broke up. Yes, 90-day yes. Um, so I'll be out here. Who's Abby and Sean? Don't even try, Miss Michelle. Hey. Yes, yes. Let me read that. Josie F said, ladies, love, respect, value yourself first before loving somebody else. Ladies, you are priceless. Absolutely. She never broke up with Scabies boy. She never broke up with Scabies boy. You mean Chris? Are you talking about Chris? Yes, okay. I don't know. Let's find out tonight. So I'm going to go ahead on the end this. You all, thank you so much for being here. Stay safe in that snow.